Courage and honor, cousin.
Into the fires of battle, unto the anvil of war.
Hello, and welcome to Warhammer 40k's Grim History from the Beyond. I'm Zekthar,
And I'm Yuxin.
and we are the chroniclers of all that was, and all that will be in the 41st millennium. We've seen the rise and fall of many empires, and today we will be discussing the most recent events of the Imperium, the Indominus Crusade.
That's right, Zekthar, and this week is going to get a little stinky and a little putrid because we are going to be delving into the Plague Wars.
Yep, and this week we'll be discussing the villains of the Plague Wars. Well, according to the Imperium.
According to just about everyone, actually.
What? You're not a fan of Grandfather Nurgle?
Nope. Now, mind you, I love his attitude, but believe me, folks, when I say this, he is one sick puppy.
You're quite right, Yuxin. But Nurgle is very much like the rest of his brothers, that if you look hard enough, you can see some good in them. It's just that they take everything to the most extreme.
I don't know about that, brother.
Okay, well, take Khorne, for instance.
Right?
Well, while he is the god of blood, war, hatred, wrath, rage, and murder,
I don't think you're helping your case here, Zekthar.
Yet, he is also the god of strength, courage, and martial honor. Unfortunately, his positives are pushed out by excess. Every hero of the Imperium, every Space Marine, every Primarch has given his due to Khorne, normally unbeknownst to them, but blood will always flow to the blood god, and skulls will always be taken in war. Or we could take your boy Zinch.
Well, I don't know if you would call him my boy.
Okay, fair enough. But out of the five gods, he's the one that you hate the least, right?
Yeah, that is a correct statement.
Why? Just out of curiosity.
Well, out of all the Chaos Gods, he seems the least brutal, might be the correct term to use, I guess. I mean, he is the god of change and is part of the natural order of things. I mean, change is. As well as being the god of knowledge, which, as we know, is not bad. It's just his followers.
Yeah, they do everything in excess, like I said.
Okay, fair enough. I see it with the two big ones. But what about Nurgle, Malice, and Slanesh?
Well, there really isn't any redeeming quality to Malice, other than the fact that he leeches off the other gods' powers. While he is somewhat of a check for the four main gods, he is a minor one, and that's probably a good thing. If he ever became more powerful, it would just suck for everyone else. Nurgle, on the other hand, has a very important part to play in the grand scheme of things. While Nurgle is the god of decay and death, it is also the god of rebirth. Decay is simply one part of the cycle of life, without which no new life could grow. In the same way, Nurgle is also the god of perseverance and survival. While those who wish to spread decay and corruption are certainly amongst his followers, there are also those who wish to endure, to become resilient enough to handle the difficulties and opportunities presented by an uncaring universe. The frustrating part about Nurgle is he really doesn't push the whole rebirth aspect of things. His concept is, I figure out how to kill things in mass quantities, and then let nature take its course.
And just like the other three, I'm guessing he does it to an extreme?
Oh yes, and that's the biggest problem. Yet even though Nurgle is the ultimate creator of every infection and epidemic to have ever swept the universe, Nurgle is not a morose purveyor of despair and gloom, but in fact a vibrant god of life and laughter. In death there is life. Upon the decay of the living, untold numbers of bacteria, viruses, insects, and other carrion feeders thrive. All life feeds upon other life to exist, and from every plague grows new generations, stronger and more viral than those who came before. Regeneration comes from decay, just as hope springs from despair. The greatest inspiration comes in the darkest moments. In times of crisis, mortals are truly tested and driven to excel. To understand what might otherwise seem contradictory or even perverse in nature, one must first comprehend that which Nurgle embodies. On the one hand, he is the Lord Decay, whose body is racked with disease. On the other, the god is full of unexpected energy and a desire to organize and enlighten. And his boys follow his example, other than perhaps Kugath, who is a rather grump and our first villain in the Plague Wars.
True, very true. But before I talk about Kugath, I noticed you forgot to mention Slanesh. What would be his redeeming qualities? Or her? There.
She who thirsts, yes.
She who thirsts.
Technically, it would be passion and perfection. The problem with this is perfection is impossible to obtain for mortals, and passion to me is just too generic. It's way too generic.
Especially when it was created from some really messed up stuff. But anyways, what do you mean?
Well, I mean, I can be passionate about having an ant farm or a tomato garden. I just don't think that feeds Slanesh. I mean, which means he's just like Mouse. He has no positive side.
Well, get back to Kugath.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Kugath is a great unclean one, and known as the Plague Father. Yet he started out very humbly as a simple Nurgling serving his grandfather. He once sat upon the great shoulders of the Lord of Decay as no more than a mite, whilst his master concocted the most virulent toxin ever created. Tumbling from his nesting place, whilst Nurgle was mixing the noxious contents, Kugath fell into the rusty cauldron. Taking a great draught of the filthy contents, the minor demon quickly swelled with power. Invigorated by the potent cauldron of poxes, Kugath continued to drink and drink until the cauldron was empty. The minuscule form of Kugath grew into a mighty great unclean one, laughing with joviality at the antics of his new creation. Nurgle was pleased with Kugath and what he had become, the embodiment of the perfect disease. Realizing his creator was not perturbed by this turn of events, Kugath soon realized that he had robbed the Plague Lord of his greatest achievement. Since that day, Kugath's attitude has been rather dour, and will remain so until he can recreate the toxic miracle that birthed him. He does not revel in the gurgling delights of infection and plague, for the Plague Father is contemplative and industrious, forever traveling through the realm of chaos and the mortal universe, seeking every ingredient and sickness imaginable in order to recreate the perfect disease once more. Kugath moves across reality atop a palanquin carried by a mound of thousands of straining Nurglings, searching for the right combination of poxes and blights to replicate Nurgle's dark miracle. The palanquin is also loaded with the alchemical paraphernalia of Kugath's mobile laboratory, so that he can continue to experiment and distill the procured poisons of millions of worlds and the furthest reaches of the ever-changing realms of the war. To field test his creations, Kugath unleashes his virulent plagues during times of war in order to test the effectiveness of his various concoctions, wiping out whole armies. In battle, Kugath hurls his pestilent Nurglings at his enemies, for the tiny demons grow within the Demon Lord, each carry a unique blend of the virulent elements that created the unique Great Unclean One.
Oh, too bad.
Acid comes from one. No!
He didn't mention this, but the Nurglings that carry him, there's just barely enough of them to carry him. And he is, he's this big fat dude. So every time that he, goes to shift his weight, he shifts his weight and, hundreds of these things just squish.
Yeah.
And a bunch of them have to scoot up to pick him back up again. So
Then he
everywhere he goes,
Then he
he's
vomits
killing-
out some more so that they can take the place, right?
everywhere he goes, anyways, hundreds of thousands of Nurglings die. By him, because he just either steps on them or he just adjusts his weight and a bunch of them get squished. Or
So in other words, he treats them worse than an orc treats a grot.
pretty much. I mean, okay, so technically he's not killing them though either because they're Nurglings. So Yes, they do explode and a whole bunch of pestilence goes all over the place, but then they just get reborn back into the warp. Agrot's just dead. So, but yeah. So just keep that in mind anyways, is that he kills, sometimes he kills more Nurglings than the Imperium does. But, sorry to interrupt. Go ahead.
With detached interest, Kugoth watches each particular infection and their symptoms take hold of the victim of his field experiments. Capturing those corrupted by his diseases, he takes them back to his lair in the land of the Plague Lord, within the manse of Nurgle himself, to observe them more closely. Thousands of cages containing creatures of every known species from all across time and space stretch into the darkness of this vast ruinous lair. The victims of Kugoth wail, gibber, and moan in the gloom, desperate for the death that will be long and agonizing in the coming.
Now, his herald, on the other hand, is quite jolly, and his name is Septicus the Seventh, another greater demon of Nurgle who commands the Septicus Legion, a demonic plague legion of the chaos god Nurgle. It is the legion Pathogenus, a type of Nurglish demonic legion in which disease has fully bloomed. It is sickness made manifest, the very height of contagion, equally capable in both attack or defense, and often deployed to guard key sites within Nurgle's garden, or spearhead an assault in real space or against the forces of the other chaos gods within the realm of chaos. Septicus is famous in that he often carries with him the glistening stomach sac of some unfortunate creature with protruding hollow antlers, on which he plays on like a bagpipe, summoning such terrible sound that it has exasperated even his fellow demons. When he gets a tune going, his minions take up their own instruments and join in the tune. Now, while this is either to join their master or drown out his terrible instrument is unknown. I don't know if any of you have heard a person who can't play the bagpipes but still plays them anyways. Sounds like this Septicus fella.
Sounds like somebody strangling a cat or two.
Strangling a cat, yes. It's very, very well done. Very well done, sir. I know the rest of the song. No, that's okay. We got it. We'll call you.
The best part was the end. What part of the end? When it ended.
Yeah.
That was the best part.
Anyways, enough about Septicus. Who's the next guy?
Now, the two greater demons we just mentioned are the main demonic villains of our story. But there are a couple minor ones we should briefly go over. And that would be Epidemius and Karamar. Now, Karamar, also called the Tallyman of Nurgle, is a powerful herald of Nurgle, and one of the 7 masters of the Plague God's foot soldiers in his demonic legions. Unlike the 2 demons we have discussed, who are both great unclean ones, Karamar is a plague bearer, a lesser demon of Nurgle. These loathsome creatures are crafted from the blighted souls of mortals who have been slain by the virulent plague known as Nurgle's Rot. Plague bearers are normally shambling, pestilent creatures with gangling, bony limbs, and their bodies are swollen with decay, so much so that glistening innards are exposed through rents in their skin. They possess a single cyclopean eye, and a single horn rising above their haggard, drawn faces, their bodies covered in filth and parasites. Despite the plague bearer's unusual appearance, they are supernaturally resilient to harm, the gifts of their master having inured them to all pain. It is the plague bearer's role to keep stock of new diseases and symptoms, and to maintain some semblance of order amongst Nurgle's naturally mischievous hordes, and no he does this better than Epidemius. You see, Epidemius is one of the 7 proctors of pestilence, who preside over the massed legions of plague bearers that answer Nurgle's call. Borne aloft on a rotten palanquin by a horde of Nurglings, Epidemius moves amongst the demons of Nurgle, making note of all of the varied afflictions and poxes unleashed into the universe. It is a never-ending task, for Nurgle is constantly creative, and his anarchic hordes are ever keen to spread new and wonderful diseases. Nurgle's diseases afflict souls as well as bodies, destroying a being's sense of self and moral direction as thoroughly as they ravage the flesh. Epidemius can track the crumbling soul trail of the recently slain, gleaning all manner of knowledge from it, as well as siphoning a portion of the spirit's strength to aid his master's cause. As an offer of thanks, Epidemius's entourage strike bells, the doleful sound celebrating as the spirit leaves for Nurgle's welcoming embrace. Epidemius can be found wherever Nurgle's pestilence gifts are most bountiful. His corpulent frame, resembling that of an extremely bloated plague bear, is often seen upon the battlefields of real space, for injected injuries and fresh corpses are fertile breeding grounds for contagion, and the stench attracts Epidemius like a fly to a rotten wound. Amidst the raging conflict, Epidemius surveys the spread of filth and decay from his lofty perch, taking careful note of every bubo, pustule, and swore. His rotten palanquin is borne aloft by Nurglings. The Nurglings also serve as his guards and act as his assistants by secreting ink for his quill, growing parchment-like strips of skin from their backs that could then be torn free, and counting on a death's head abacus on the back of the palanquin. Unlike the constant babbling and giggles of usual Nurglings, however, these are silent as they understand the importance of Epidemius' task and suffer his ire whenever they break his concentration. Shut up, you number 22! Okay, moving on!
Honestly, Nurglings probably don't even have numbers. Shut up, you!
How dare you! I've also killed the other 10 around you.
Huh? I mean, at least orcs and grots have names.
Yeah.
Yeah, Nurglings just don't. They are billions upon trillions of Nurglings, and they all just kind of die and come back.
See, it's like, but wasn't he number 22? You're now 22, so 22 probably by the 90th power, but you're still number 22. Anyways, even as Epidemius writes, Grandfather Nurgle becomes aware of his findings, distilling the information for future experiments and broods. The more notes Epidemius makes, the more the Lord of Decay's attention is drawn to him, and the greater the blessings bestowed upon his pestilent legions. To better observe the spread of disease, Epidemius orders his palanquin carried to the front lines, where the Nurgling bearers and the obese herald angrily strike out at any foes that get close enough to disturb the tallyman's work. Epidemius is quite old as well. In fact, the Plague Wars isn't the first time he has tangled with Gilman and his sons.
Really?
Indeed, it is said that he was summoned to the world of Calth by the Word-Bearers during the Battle of Calth during the Horus Heresy.
Huh. Interesting. Okay, old's a relative term for demons. I mean, sure, he's 12,000 years old, but that's not, all that old for a demon. But it is kind of interesting, anyways, that this is the first time he's tangled with Gilliman.
You mean that this isn't the first time?
Yeah, that's what I said.
You said this is the first time.
I said isn't.
But anyways, moving on.
Now, Karamar has an important role to play in this set piece, but he is rather an odd duck. Well, he is a demon of Nurgle. He isn't a great unclean one. He's a clock dragon thing. Okay, the only description I could find of him was from the scribe Guy Haley's work in Dark Imperium. And not to get too far ahead of our story, he wrote... So a little context here. He's just coming into real space. So bear that in mind. A crack of thunder presaged the opening of a tear in real space, and a heaving, gelatinous presence poured through. Long streams of it wrapped themselves around the clock's workings, its touch turning them green and dull with decay, even as it bound them together. making them and pulling them into a tall, detestable shape. A black, oily skin formed over the clockwork and broken stone. The demon rose up, gathering the stuff of the clock and the menhir into itself, and took on living form. Organs of whirring cogs sank into its chest. Ropey muscle moved under the shining black skin. While the metal and stone showed in its form, they were corroded, brass and bronze becoming green, fused lumps, and the rock pitting, though it glowed brighter and brighter. Forearms grew, and fingers became long, backward-facing spikes, like the wings of a bat. A short, powerful pair of rear legs burst from the back of the mass. Huge shoulders swelled in seconds, unnatural bones cracking as they grew at pace. The clock demon lurched forward. For a head, it had the eyeless skull of a horse left long in the forest green and gray, the honeycomb of its dead marrow showing where the outer layer had failed. It walked hunched over on its knuckles of its elongated fingers, though it had no wing membranes to join them. Indeed, it appeared half-finished overall. As it moved, its oily surface dulled, becoming leathery, rotting skin. A choking miasma of decay filled the cathedral. The demon marched forward, its spirit still knitting matter into a false body. The temperature plummeted as it sucked the energy from reality around it. Bolts disappeared like pebbles dropping into the water. The thing tossed its head. A stinking mane that looked like rags of seaweed flicked out around its bare skull, and the lightning and fire of the librarians were turned aside, blasting into the cathedral. It stomped forwards, growing larger as it moved. Now its skin was full of holes, and ribs gleamed beneath. A moment later, it was smooth and supple, untouched by time. As it stalked forwards like a dragon from ancient legend, it aged and died, over and over, though its mismatched skull remained the same throughout, and the stink remained, whether its state was flushed with youth or ripe with rot. Anyways, that kind of gives you the description of what this thing looks like. Make of that as you will.
Weird.
Yeah. Like I said, it's kind of a dragon, kind of clock, kind of a horse. Yeah.
Kind of constantly dying and
Reborn, yeah.
reborn.
His whole thing is time. Okay.
Who
So
would have guessed that with the fact that he has a clock in him?
So he also mentions, anyways, he actually names himself, and he goes on to say, I am Karamar, the last second, last watcher of the last moment, fifth in Nurgle's favor. I cannot be killed. I have seen the end of time. I will be there when the final atomic motion of this hateful realm decays into blessed entropy, and chaos will be born anew. I am sent here to be your executioner, anathema's get. Fear me, for I am the rot drake, the foul catcher, the master of last moments. I am the death of time, and I am mighty. I'll give you a little bit more perspective on who he is. I mean, but anyways, all these guys, anyways, this is kind of the end of the villainous demons of Nurgle. And when we have two more bad guys, we do have to talk about. What do you think of these fat slobs, Yuxin? Well, other than Karamar, who seems to be a clock, a dragon clock. That's a
Drake. Drake. He calls himself a Drake.
Drake, dragon, same difference. I'm sure I'm irritating a lot of people. Wyvern, dragon, same difference. Shut up! But yeah, out of all these guys, I mean, pretty much all the rest of them are fat slobs. But what do you think of all these fellows?
I find the Epidemius funny because he's like the record keeper.
He is the accountant.
Yes. This plague did this and this and this.
Which,
okay, Nurgle, we'll move on to the next one. Here's what this is.
you know, I find it interesting that Nurgle is so organized, because when you think of like life and death and like the decay and rebirth and all that, anyways, and nature in and of itself is completely and utterly chaotic.
Well, see, that's why he has to have Epidemius to help cover for that.
Well, I mean, that's also the weird part, anyways, is that he's like, I need to organize this. Like, dude, you're a god of chaos. Just go with it. You know? You
I
need
need
someone
to know what
telling
works
this
and doesn't
crap, huh?
work.
I don't know. I just find it interesting that he actually tries to have some semblance of order, which doesn't make any sense for a chaos god, but he tries. I mean,
It's a process of futility, is what it is.
there you go. I mean, quite frankly, if they weren't so disgusting, I would actually be pretty cool with Nurgle. He seems happy. All the rest of them don't. I mean, Khorne is always portrayed as this. I mean, he is, the god of war. He's just always, anyways, in an angry mood. And then you have Zinch, who's just he seems like a coked out junkie. He's just constantly, nothing can be perfect. It's always going to be, oh, we got to change this, we got to change that, we got to change this. And then
I see him with a wicked sort of grin when he smiles, sort of factor.
Sure, I get that, but at the same time, he just seems like, because he always has to have things changing, he just doesn't seem ever happy. Sure, he might wear a smile on the outside, but he's just constantly moving. He's like, yes, my plan finally came to fruition. Now on to the next one. Now on to the next one. Now on to the next 18.
Well, except for what about Slanesh?
Yeah, to me, he does sound a little like Snidely Whiplash. But Slanesh, on the other hand, anyways, I don't even know what to think of Slanesh. Slanesh is just Slanesh. Just everything that's wrong with the universe. I can't stand the guy. But Nurgle, on the other hand, actually seems to enjoy what he's doing. And it's almost like he's actually trying to help people, but he just does it so wrong. And all of his followers, I mean, for instance, you're talking about Kugoth. I mean, he's like, I feel bad about what I did, so I want to help out, my grandpa. Kind of thing. And I mean,
I'll never be happy.
I won't be happy until I fix what I broke, kind of thing. Which seems, it's like, okay, fair enough. That's taking responsibility for your actions. I like that, But
too bad your big pile of pus and pestilence.
That's just the downside, anyways, with Nurgle's followers. They're all just so bloody disgusting. It's hard to root for them.
And
I mean, if you go for it and you slapped him on the back, you just get this, and it was just.
And then you would die from some sort of disease because
all the pus and stuff drips off your fingers. You're like, ugh. And then you have nothing to wipe it on because, I mean, if you try wiping it off on them anyways, you just break out more boils and it's just too bad because, like I said, they seem like a jolly bunch. It's like
how about we move on from this more and more disgusting sounding conversation?
I thought people were supposed to be jolly. Yeah, we should probably move on. Now, the last two guys that we were going to talk about, neither one of them are okay. Technically, one of them's a demon, but they're really they didn't start out as demons. Put it that way.
Yeah.
So who are the last guys we're going to be talking about?
Well, we must move on to our two final antagonists, and who better start than with Typhus, the Traveler?
Ah, yes, Typhus, Nurgle's turd.
Yes. What? Wait a minute. Is that one of his titles?
No, but it should. And he's kind of up with Erebus and dickishness.
Fair enough.
He's pretty terrible.
Typhus was originally named Callus Typhon, and was born on Mortarian's homeworld of Barbarous. Typhon possessed the blood of the mutant Psyker warlords that had ruled the planet before being defeated by Mortarian. He was in fact a half-breed, the result of one of the overlords of Barbarous taking an unhealthy liking to his human mother. For this sin, his mother's fellow villagers later drowned her after she bore her hybrid offspring. When Mortarian defected from the service of the High Lords Noker after witnessing their atrocities against the human population of Barbarous, Typhon was the first person the young Primarch encountered, and the young adolescent helped lead him to safety. in the human-settled lowlands of Barbarous. During his early adulthood, Typhus was a champion of Mortarian's early Death Guard militia in his war against the overlords of Barbarous. When the Emperor reclaimed his lost son Mortarian from the poisonous mists of Barbarous, and reunited him with the transhuman warriors born from his gene seed, Typhon was amongst those chosen to join their ranks. His clan's citadel had been visited by the apothecaries of Mortarian's new Space Marine Legion, and during their assessments, Typhon's inner strength had shown through. The esoteric processes by which Typhon became a member of the Death Guard are lost to even his memory. But when he learned that his legion spurned the use of mental powers, Typhon quickly learned to suppress his psychic potential. His Primarch Mortarian frowned on the use of such arcane tactics, seeing them as a crutch unbecoming of true warriors, and a reminder of the terrible abilities also wielded by the hated necromantic overlords of Barbarous. Instead, Typhon fell back on the iron will and rugged stamina that had seen him ride out the events of his tumultuous childhood. This in itself was a remarkable resource. Typhon outlasted all others in the toxin trials and marathon endurance contests staged by his nascent legion. Such was his strength of mind and body that Mortarian soon favored his old friend Typhon above all others, elevating him to first captain of the Death Guard Legion. Such an honor was not lost on the stoic warrior. If Callous Typhon could win such a glorious post without even making use of his hidden psychic abilities, he was truly destined for greatness, should circumstances change. Now, while you mentioned Typhus is up there with Erebus, his early days are marked by a simple aspect that can be summed up in one word: survivor. To put it simply, Callous Typhon could survive anything, and would survive anything, no matter the cost. His deeds are actually pretty legendary throughout the Great Crusade, and while he was opponent psyker, he kept these traits hidden, which was probably a good thing, what with hanging out with Mortarian, who couldn't stand wizards.
Did he know?
Pardon?
Did Mortarian know Callous was a psyker?
Okay, to the best of my knowledge and what I've looked up, if he didn't know, he probably had very high suspicion of it.
Okay, so I think anyways there's some points here anyways. I think we definitely know anyways by the time that of the Horus Heresy and they reach Terra, he definitely.
oh yeah.
And by that point, we can agree on that. So I think anyways we have a different aspect of what we're thinking here though. So how about at the so let's say let's take time periods here real quick. So do you think he knew anyways when before the Emperor showed up, when both of them were just chums on Barbarous?
I think there is a possibility that he could have then.
That he could have what?
I think as time came on, it'd be more and more likely from then. But I think that he could have a suspicion of it just by things that probably had either heard or things he had seen, possibly. Even though on Typhon's, Typhon was able to train himself not to, kill things by accident.
Be spooky.
From having a bad day, which, let's face it, on Barbarous was probably every day was a bad day. So,
by having a bad day, you mean like Tuesday?
Yeah.
But yeah,
every day.
So this is, I think, where we started anyways our disagreement, because I think anyways, honestly, Typhon really kept that a secret from Mortarian at the very beginning. Now, I think anyways, but I do believe, I think we agree, I think our time period's different though on the aspect. I do think anyways, by the time you hit the Horus Heresy, I think we're both kind of in alignment by that point anyways, and Mortarian didn't know he was a psyker. He had real strong thoughts that he probably would.
If he hadn't known by that time.
If he hadn't known by that time, yeah. But to me anyways, I think really honestly anyways, I would even say throughout the Great Crusade, Mortarian probably didn't know. He might suspect, but it would have been a very small suspicion, I think, at that point. But that's me. You, on the other hand, it sounds like you, on the other hand, anyways, think that there was a very small suspicion when they started out, and the more, anyways, they went on, the more that Mortarian's like, hey, wait a minute.
Well, I think if he had found out beforehand, he would, first of all, because he was probably, at the time, let's put that, at the time, probably his best friend.
Yeah.
Now, not so much. Which we'll explain why in just a little bit here.
No, they were great friends when, by the time the Emperor showed up. Anyways, it was his first friend.
Oh yeah,
Mortarian's first friend. They were charmed.
So, I would guess that he would have found out before the Horus Heresy, but I figure it'd grow anyways. And even if he did find out, because it was his best friend, and the fact that when he found out, he would realize that, yeah, his best friend is a psyker, but he's purposely trying not to use psyker abilities.
Right.
And show everything that Mortarian hates, basically. I think that may even improve the relationship. Would be like, okay, this guy knows how I feel about psykers. And so even then, he's trying not to show that part of him.
Right.
So I won't be surprised if he knew before.
And quite frankly, anyways, I think it's actually a very, very well thought out concept. I just have less faith in Typhon than you do. I think, to me, anyways, it was more along the lines of he knew Mortarian did not like psykers. In fact, when he first met him, it was just like, we'll kill all the psykers, and Typhon was like, yeah, let's do that.
Well, to be fair, all psykers they knew up until then were the overlords who were
necromancers.
Horrific people. Horrific.
Yes, terrible.
It's putting it mildly, in fact.
But to me, anyways, I could definitely see Typhon trying to keep that a secret and really pushing that aspect, anyways. And I think that's also another, to me, anyways, farther down the line, I can see why. I mean, like he said, anyways, they're definitely not friends anymore. I think, anyways, that's also another thing that really hurt Mortarian quite a bit, was that he just never did confide in him, this particular aspect of it. He always kept it quiet. But, like I said, anyways, I think boil it down, we really honestly don't know.
Yeah.
We just have not read enough information about it. We have looked into it, but we just haven't read enough information about it. And I wholeheartedly think, anyways, that your aspect is a very good. So, by the way, for those of you in the go ahead and type out in the comments, anyways, what you think. Do you think Typhon was hiding this, or do you think, anyways, that he actually let Mortarian know, and Mortarian he wasn't happy about it because it was his best friend, and he was trying to suppress it. He was cool with it. I think both options, by the way, are completely valid.
Yeah. Anywho, somewhere and at some point in the Great Crusade, Typhon ran into, oh boy, Erebus.
It's always Erebus. It's every time, it's Erebus. Yeah, we can't have one other dude, anyways, try to corrupt somebody into chaos. Not even Corferon does that. It's always Erebus.
Well, it's because it's Erebus. I mean,
although I will say, other than Lorgar, Corferon really helped, anyways, push Lorgar along. But everybody else,
Erebus also helped turn him too. He's the one who went, there's these other people that you could worship.
Okay. Corferon knew about them beforehand. The cultists.
Well, Corferon knew about it, but he didn't go, well, there's these other people. Erebus went, well, there are these other people.
No, Corferon's the guy that actually pushed him after, anyways, the whole thing with Monarchy. He said, well, we could go to the Eye of Terror. There are these 4 other gods that we used to worship. And Erebus was down with it because...
Well, Erebus...
That's who he's been worshipping the entire time.
Yeah, I know. He is the person... He had been worshipping them
when
the entire time.
Corferon mentioned it, anyways, Erebus was like, you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyways, I hate that guy.
Well, regardless, Erebus turned him to the worship of chaos. Typhon then, during the Horus Heresy, turned to the worship of Nurgle, and then brought the rest of the Death Guard, including Mortarian, into the fold, whether they wanted to or not.
That's it?
Huh?
That's all we're gonna say about that? I mean, it's a pretty important part of the Death Guard. It kind of really makes you hate Typhus.
True, very true, but it isn't important to the Plague Wars. And when we discuss the Death Guard, we will get more into it.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, after the heresy, there was a bit of parting of ways for the Death Guard. Typhus was an unholy legend in his own right, and was not content with a sedentary existence as his Primarch's right hand. Instead, he marshaled those among the Death Guard whose bitter enmity for the Imperium still burned fiercely, forming a plague fleet that took to the tides of the warp once more. At their head flew his ship, the Terminus Est, the spear that Typhus intended to plunge deep into the heart of the Imperium. With the blessing of the Father of Plagues, he would deal a festering wound that would never heal. Since that day, Typhus has visited 100,000 diseases upon the Imperium of Man. The Destroyer Plague is without doubt the most virulent of all, though its vector of demonic insects means that it is of limited use when infecting entire star systems. Typhus was always an ambitious man, and his tireless search for the perfect plague has led to the destruction of nations, worlds, and even star systems. Typhus has even walked in the Garden of Nurgle itself, in the realm of chaos, learning of a great many ways to turn order and structure into chaotic decay. It is whispered that he followed a humanoid emissary composed entirely of his own destroyer demon flies to the outskirts of the garden, lulling its sentient fungus with his deep bass voice and bewitching its guardians with tales of entropy and despair visited upon the mortal realm. When the Crimson Blood Legions of Khorne invaded the Garden of Nurgle and cut down every living thing they could find, it was Typhus who coordinated the garden's defense, leading the final charge of buzzing plague drones and slug-like beasts of Nurgle at Bubbling Gully. At the climax of the battle, Typhus overcame the gigantic demon prince that led the Coordinate Legions, slowly but surely crippling the Doghead monstrosity with ever more virulent plagues until he was able to best him in single combat and take his guts as a gift for Nurgle's culture. Such was the resultant favor of the Lord of Decay that Typhus was allowed to reach the throne of Nurgle himself, in the Plague Lord's riding manse, presenting his offering before dipping his battle scythe into the filth that pooled around its base, and withdrawing it quickly before death finally found even him. Tales such as these spring up wherever Typhus treads, for his ambition is as fierce as ever, as his journeys across the Imperium bring system after system to ruin. Typhus becomes ever more convinced that he is the true son of Nurgle. Mortarian has proved his own lack of worth by failing to wage the long war against the Imperium. To Typhus, the Primarch was purely the vector by which the beauty of the Plague Marines were birthed into the universe. By comparison, Typhus has been tireless in his prosecution of his true master's goals. He unleashed Nurgle's rot upon Crandinus, Seven, and Protheus, turning billions of alien souls into plague bearers that tirelessly cataloged the lesser diseases springing up in Typhus's wake. On Legeda, he loosed a plague song that forced the infected to chant a hymn to Nurgle, even as they slowly wasted away. He wiped out the entire male population of Florence with the dreaded Red Flux, and engineered the Jonah's World pandemic, reducing a once proud shrine world to a global necropolis of rot-filled tombs. Yet, the crowning glory of Typhus's achievements is the introduction of the zombie plague in the Segmentum Obscurus. With this terrible new curse, Typhus has fused the cycles of life and death together, an act that has pleased his master greatly. The zombie plague is a supernatural warp-based disease, and as such, it does not follow the laws of biology or physics, for it can actually only infect those who have no hope or faith in their hearts. In the uncaring grind of imperial life, the vast majority of the populace can be counted amongst that number. The unfortunate victims of this horrendous malady rot from the inside out, coughing themselves to death over a long, painful period. That is merely the beginning of their suffering. Those that fall do not stay dead. Their bodies are reanimated by the uncanny psychic power of the arcane infection, and they lurch after the living, desperate to gnaw upon warm, supple flesh. Even a single bite can transfer the infection to a new host, and so the process begins anew. In the 41st millennium, Typhus once again attempted to unite the T'Cholka engine with its brother devices, this time in cooperation with the fallen angel Mare Estella. The two planned to gather the original Fallen with Typhus's own Death Guard forces to create a new heretic Astartes legion known as the Death Angels. However, they were defeated by loyalist Dark Angels led by Supreme Grandmaster Azrael, and, surprisingly, the enigmatic Fallen Cypher in the Battle of the Caliban system in 998.M41. Now, in the era Indomitus, he has not been idle either, even before the Plague Wars. After the creation of the Great Rift and the start of the era Indomitus, Typhus launched a major chaos assault on the Caradon sector, besieging the Forge world of Metallica and corrupting it with a computer phage known as the Nemesis Worm after a prolonged battle. After Fabius Biles stole the Nurglish artifact known as the Arc Cornucontagious from Nurgle's real space realm in the Scourge Stars during the Psychic Awakening, Typhus pursued the former chief apothecary of the Emperor's Children with his plague fleet in a bid to reclaim it, and with it, the Spider's head. In the ensuing War of the Spider, Typhus battled not only Bile's mutant Terrata creations and his Chaos Space Marine allies among the Shriven, but also an Adeptus Custodes force commanded by Shield Captain Atal Tyver. Thanks to Bile's mechanizations, Typhus was unable to corner the Spider and had to withdraw in the face of the Custodes' assault, which brings us to the Plague Walls.
And that also brings us to the last of our villains, but most important to our story, Guilliman's dour brother, Mortarian. Now, like all of his brothers, Mortarian was boot-kicked across the galaxy by the Chaos Gods. But unlike Guilliman, who landed on the nice planet called Macrog, Mortarian landed on the terrible planet of Barbers, a desolate and poisoned world. Now, like my brother just mentioned, we will get more into Mortarian's origins when we discuss the Death Guard. But until then, just know he was picked up by the Emperor, put in charge of the Death Guard, betrayed the Emperor to follow Horus, was betrayed by Typhus, and now is the Demon Prince Primarch of Nurgle. Did I leave anything out of importance here? You said...
Not at this point in time, anyways.
Nothing that we really need to talk about today. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Yes, I did leave out quite a bit, but nothing important for today. Well, other than maybe the fact that anyways he's got wings now. But within the Eye of Terror, Mortarian was given control of a demon world, now known as the Plague Planet, which he molded into a new and despicable form, making it a virtual copy of Barbarous, placing himself in his adopted father's position as the chief tyrant. To this day, Mortarian's Death Guard launch their assaults into the galaxy beyond, sometimes in large bodies, and at others lending strength to allied forces. Wherever they travel, they spread the joyful, exuberant poxes of Nurgle, gifting those who would know eternal life with the choicest of the Plague God's blessings. Now, Mortarian has gotten into some trouble But nothing is more famous than what took place in 901.M41.
Wait, why do I know that date?
Now, during the Battle of Cornavin, Mortarian slew Geranotin, the Supreme Grand Master of the Grey Knights chapter.
Oh no, not again!
Yes! In his place, the Grey Knights elevated the hero Kaldor Drago amidst the din of the battlefield, and Drago immediately vowed vengeance against the Demon Primarch. Alone and unaided, Space Wizard McDrago smashed his way through Mortarian's bodyguard of Plague Marines, struck the ancient Primarch to the ground, and carved Geranotin's name on the Demon Prince's diseased heart. Although Mortarian ultimately escaped, it would be many long Terran years before he could enter the mortal realm once more. Drago's insult would not soon be forgotten, as the Demon Primarch vowed his vengeance against the Umstad mortal. Now, moving on,
That's it? You're not going to explain that there were actually other circumstances that led to Mortarian's downfall?
I didn't think it was needed. I mean, according to the Empire's own historical records, Space Wizard McGee just marched right up to the Demon Primarch, slapped him around a bit, and then ripped his still-beating blackened heart from his chest, autographed it with his boy's name, then shoved it back into his chest, high-fived a Grey Knight, and then quit the battle as the rest of his Space Wizard friends killed the rest of the Death Guard.
Okay, for those who actually know what we discussed concerning it, we actually covered it in a Grey Knight's video on notable characters. But there were many other factors involved.
Not really. They tried to soften the blow up a little bit, like Kaldor Drago almost died. Did he? Did he really? No. He just went, your true name is really Mikey. Thump. And Mortarian apparently went, my heart. And then he had
it would be hilarious if that was what his true name was Mikey or Sam or your name
frankly,
is John.
Anyway, I think we both agreed anyways that it was definitely very much empirical hyperbole.
Yeah.
Most of it was. And the story in and of itself should probably be stricken from the record at some point because it's just dumb. But anyways, moving on. The last thing I will mention about Mortarian is he still doesn't get along with his brothers, even the fallen ones. Well, I mean, it makes sense he doesn't get along with the other ones, but his fallen ones he doesn't get along with either. An example of this was when, after the Great Rift's creation, Mortarian led the Death Guard in invading the world of Dissectus to find the Temple of Ascension. However, they were soon confronted by his brother, Rabo, and a vast host of Iron Warriors and Chaos Titans from the Legio of Horax. The confrontation quickly descended into open warfare, as the Demon Primarchs led their forces against each other, and both sides summoned demons to aid them. Beneath the gaze of the Cyclopean statues, Mortarian and Perturabo engaged in a spectacular duel that lasted for 7 solar hours. It is a battle reminiscent of the incredible conflicts of the Horus Heresy, and Perturabo's sons caused terrible damage to the Death Guard forces. Yet, the longer the fighting raged, the more contagions and poxes of the Death Guard spread through the Iron Warrior ranks. Ancient heretics sickened and collapsed. Malevolent war engines seized with rust and shudder, sparking to a halt. Machine spirits went mad with revulsion and pain, and as the powers of entropy and decay ran rampant, the battle swung in Mortarian's favor. With his forces in tatters and many of his precious war engines crippled beyond repair, even the bitter Perturabo was finally forced to concede defeat. Falling back to pre-prepared defense lines, he detonated a series of explosive trenches amidst the raging storms and disengaged in the ensuing mayhem. Badly mauled but triumphant, Mortarian and his Death Guard lay claim to the heathen temple they fought so hard for, and the ancient secrets that lay in its heart. Well, before we go, you have any final word on our villains this week, Yuxin? Actually, before you do, this seems very odd to me, this last part anyways, with Perturabo. Perturabo's the guy that kind of thinks of everything. I don't know, maybe he hadn't talked to Mortarian in a while. Didn't realize how much those sicknesses The sicknesses will affect anyways our mortal warriors, but definitely not our iron. What's that? Rust? Oh no. Didn't think about that. I don't know.
Something that even affects the machine spirits themselves. Yeah.
Iron within, fungus without. Sorry. But what do you think of these bad guys?
I find that, oddly enough, the unclean ones seem more humorous than the non-demons.
I wouldn't even go so far as not to say, anyways. Yes, they are significantly more humorous, but I would also go to put it past the point. Anyways, they don't seem as evil as the ones that were originally human.
Doing their job, basically.
I'm just doing my job, man.
Like, at least for the tally maker, he's just doing his job, man.
I am Nurgle's accountant. How dare you? This will all be going in my report. But yeah, to me anyways, it seems like these two guys that weren't originally demons of Nurgle anyways, seem to be actually the more evil of the group. And the other ones are demons.
Yeah.
Which I think actually says more about the two that we talked about last than the demons themselves. It's just bizarre. I wholeheartedly agree with you. Quite frankly, anyways, okay, so out of all these, I think you can agree with me anyways, out of all these guys, the worst character out of all of them is Typhus, right?
Yes.
I mean, we didn't really go into it. Mortarian kind of got a logical beef with the Emperor, and he didn't really have a choice of following Nurgle. It's because Typhus...
You too? Typhus? Who is you too? Aramis?
So, I just... Mortarian... Okay, so as opposed... So we've talked about Magnus before. And he tried... Our joke is always, anyways, Magnus tried to do everything right. He just did it so wrong.
Yeah.
Mortarian is just... He just always hated the Emperor. I mean, that's really what it boiled down to. He's a psyker, we hate him.
Oh, yeah.
Speaking of Magnus, he probably didn't get along with him either.
No, he didn't.
It's the first time they meet, so...
So, what is it that you do, Magnus?
I'm a space wizard.
I hate you.
F you!
That's the only...
Give them the
And
finger.
that's the only conversation they ever had the entire time. He just left.
Until the Council of Nicaea, where he tries to portray that he's so worried about his brother. And probably the majority of the people there's going, right.
Well,
when is he going to finish talking?
At least, okay, so Mortarian, I will say anyways, this is one of the few things Mortarian actually had anyways in semblance with Leman Russ. There's not a lot of similarities between the two, but one thing that they both anyways did not like was wizards.
Well, unless it came to the rune priests, then Russ was fine with that.
I was going to say that was the big difference, was that Russ, for some reason anyways, had partitioned the concept anyways of space wizard and rune priest were two different things. Mortarian just looked at all of them and yeah, they're all using the warp. They all need to die. It's an unfair advantage for everybody else, which I always found kind of funny. It's like, well, yeah, but you're a Primarch, which means that it's an unfair advantage of you being you. I mean,
Yeah.
you're twice the size of every man here, and you can't die. But yeah, I kind of agree with you. Anyways, out of all these villains, I think Kugoth, I like his Herald actually a little bit more because he's just I don't know. The fact of
Really
a great
bad pipe player.
waddling towards the enemy anyways, playing a bagpipe that he can't play well, but thinks he does. That's the other thing. I think he thinks he's doing great, and everyone around him's like, no. To me, anyways, that's just humorous. I've I've met people before, anyways, that think that. Like, I'm a great guitarist. Like, no, you are not, sir. At the best, you are mediocre. At the worst, you ruin songs of better men and women. So, yeah. To me, anyways, he's probably my favorite. And like I said, the worst is probably Typhus. Who's out of your villains? Who is your favorite?
It's probably Epidemius, the tally man.
Oh, really? Wow, why is that?
Just because of the thought process of him being a tally man, writing all this stuff down and then passing it off to Grandfather Nurgle. It's like, here's the latest results on this.
You think he just folds it up into a paper airplane and zips it off through the warp?
Yeah. And nobody can destroy it because it immediately goes to him, so...
And he's like concentrating on the cauldron and all of a sudden, oh yeah, right. The new list. As he unfolds the paper airplane. To me, anyways, I think it would be, so he also, anyways, so this is for him, anyways, I find it interesting, this is the second time he's met up with Gilliman, right? So, to me, anyways, it would be kind of interesting if you could, I know it would never work, but if we could, like, get both of those two guys, Gilliman and Epidemius, in a room so that they weren't trying to kill each other. So they had to sit there and talk. Because it sounds like, anyways, there are a lot of similarities. Yes. You see where I'm going with this. That's how you organize? Oh, that makes so much more sense. Yeah, you see?
Or they'll stare there at it's like, okay, first person to write this many things in this amount of time. Go. We'll just start writing as fast as possible.
So that's how you organize those plagues. See, I was organizing them this way. Oh, okay, that kind of makes sense, but no, this is far more efficient. But on that more humorous note, we're out of time for today. Join us next time as we start in on the Plague Wars.
Fantastic. But for those of you who enjoyed our little show, could you please be so kind as to push that subscribe, like, or follow button? And if you wish to help us expand on our work on 40k lore, by all means, support us by joining our membership program on our YouTube channel, Tales of Ashraka. Oh, and don't forget to purchase the Yoden Heist, sold wherever ebooks are sold. And Yoden Heist is spelled with a J.
Yes, it is. Oh, and don't forget also, anyways, if you're watching us on YouTube, to hit the hype button. I mean, first off, good luck finding it. Secondly, anyways, if you can actually push it, it really helps us because the algorithm really likes that. But most importantly, have a great day. And until next time, this is Ekthar.
And you.
Signing off.